Hi YouTube, Eli Scotty here, your New York local city cowboy, your local New York City cowboy. I'm gonna get that down for you guys sooner or later, and I'm gonna get this whole looking down thing straight. I'm gonna keep the intro short because I really want to jump into this topic because I want to be an actor, so I'm very into like film, cinematography, and shows and stuff like that. And none of my friends ever want to sit around and hear me blabber about this type of stuff. So since I have a YouTube channel, that's exactly what I'm gonna use it for. We're gonna be discussing the hit TV show Bridgerton. I low-key, I'm either gonna title this video 10 reasons why you should watch it, or is it a good thing to watch the new Netflix show, or something along the lines of like, you know, something probably clickbaity, like worst show ever on Netflix. Who knows what I'm gonna pick? But let's just start off with Bridgerton. It is produced by Shonda Rhimes. So that is that's the standard that we're starting off with. Shonda Rhimes produced How to Get Away with Murder and Scandal, so that should give you an idea of how good this show is. I'm so happy that they actually teamed up together to produce a show like this. It's a timepiece. If you guys didn't know, it's from the Regency era, so 1800s, around like the 1815, 1820s, around that area. The show Bridgerton itself is based off of a book by Julia Quinn, if I'm not mistaken. And since I have never read the book and I didn't know too much about the series before it started, I can't attest to how well they stuck to the original plot lines and stuff like that, and how well they produced it. But from an outsider looking in, and once again, by no means I'm a part of like Black Twitter or Twitter that's into movies that like put people as shreds. I'm not a part of that. I'm just like someone who likes film, and I like good plot lines, good cinematography, good aesthetics, good scenes, good setting, and good acting. And this show has all of that, but for one thing, it has a couple things that it has that every good show has. It has love, lies, secrets, and the best of all, it has scandal. One thing Bridgerton does well, it shows you the art form of a scandal and what that can do for someone's reputation, and why all influencers today, honestly, it shows why all influencers today are actively trying to get into a scandal. Because when you have a scandal, all eyes are on you, everybody pays attention to you. Now back in the day, way back then, where poshness was at its peak, you didn't want a scandal, because literally it actually meant something. It would actually ruin your reputation. Versus in today's day and age, you get in a scandal, your reputation is only heightened because more people know you, and you know, no publicity is bad publicity. Everybody's talking about you, which is the only thing that should be in your mind. This show, one thing that they do really like is the diversity. Now, we've been asking for diversity for so long, especially from mainstream streaming platforms like Netflix, and guaranteed it's not the most diverse show, but compared to the other bullcrap that they put out, it's extremely diverse, standing next to its counterparts side by side. We have a queen of color, and which is actually historically not too far off. Like they say, the pictures of that queen from the Regency era does give off a mixed biracial. They don't know exactly what her race is, so I guess they kind of played on that. But you know, you have free black people. We're pretending as if, like, you know, the racism during that era did not exist. You had interracial mingling. You had wealthy black people as well. You didn't only have black people. You had Asian people. If there were Hispanics in there, which I'm probably sure there were, like in the background, they're there. You get what I'm saying? They hit that part really on the nail on the head. For sure, that came out December 25th, and it's now January 14th, which is not much for Netflix shows. It's still trending, and it's still #1, which means like it's worth a watch. It's worth at least a click. As a black person and who wants to be an actor, you always get accustomed to hearing actors say, you know, you can never go too far back when it comes to acting with timepieces, because, you know, the further you go back, after you hit a certain point, which is literally like 50 years ago, 60 years ago, you're a slave, and that's just that. So I'm so happy, like, guaranteed this is Bridgerton is a modern day timepiece of the 18th century with like, it's very reminiscent of Gossip Girl. It's a fantasy. We're pretending as if people of color were allowed to live and free and do as they please in this show, just as their white counterparts, even though you and I both know that wasn't true. But nevertheless, let's get into some things. I do have my little I've been writing down notes. I'm such a geek and a nerd. So one thing that I really want to touch upon are the themes in the show. So the main theme that I noticed, which was very prevalent, is I have right here my notes, like boss woman. I was gonna say like boss bitch vibes, or like, you know, feminist. The women in this show are they're portrayed very much to be like strong-minded and, for lack of better words, revolutionary. Before I touch on the characters, I definitely want to touch on Eloise. Eloise is like the epitome of that statement. Like, she's young, she's naive, but yet she's very inquisitive. She's very trying to expand and broaden her horizons. The women are like that. A lot of them not only are like that, inquisitive, but they also they don't take shit, for lack of better words. Excuse my language. They don't take stuff off of people. They know what they want, and they're not afraid to say what they want, even when they know they're not going to get it due to their sex. That's one thing that this show shows prevalent. The mom talks to Anthony about, like, you're supposed to be the head of the house, and you're the man, you're supposed to take care of us, you're not doing a good job since your father has passed away. She told him what it was, and then she not only did she tell him what it was, she told him, like, yo bro, straight up, I could do your job better than you. Same thing with Daphne telling Anthony, like, you're not gonna marry me to this hobo of a guy just because he has money and he has good social standing and he seems like a nice guy. He's not gonna make me happy. You want your sister to be happy, and if you don't want me happy, guess what, I'm still not marrying him. And then inevitably, I mean, she did say it herself, like, I'm technically forcing the Duke. I'm sorry, I'm spoiling the show, but, like, let me switch off to another theme, because I'm going to spoil the show for you. Another theme I have on here is the theme of a scandal. Like I touched upon probably like 3 minutes ago. This show, the way they, first off, just touch on the cinematography while I'm here. The way that it's photographed, I love it. It's very much reminiscent of like a London fairy tale. The cinematography is similar to that. It very much matches its aesthetic cleverly. Like the way they film, like as they rise, the camera will come and rise up. It sets the tones very well. Like not very often you'll get a show that's good concept, good plotline, but then the way it's shot is kind of boring. This is not like that. It's just like the clothes and the characters. It's very fairy tale vibes the way it's shown. It's almost very dreamy, like as if it's like you're living in that actual type of fantasy. But with that being said, like the way they film their scandals, it's I don't want to say, dare I say, revolutionary. Like they film it in a way where it literally leaves you wanting for more. Like they actively show, even it doesn't matter how far separate my area is from there. Like one thing humans like is a good piping hot cup of tea. Like they like to talk, they like to chatter. That's a part of our nature. So they show that accurately. So one thing that correlates to the scandal in this show would be, I don't know, devious. It's very, there's a lot of, I don't know the correct terminology, but devious. The show is extremely devious. About a lot of sneaking around, a lot of lies, a lot of concealment of the truth, a lot of hiding in the back behind the closed doors. And the reason why I say it's a theme is because not only can you pick that up from like through like reading between the lines through the characters, but then the show itself actively shows it. It shows how you had the posh element of, the marriage season, the London season, the debutantes being presented as, unmarried, eligible bachelors and bachelorettes in society. It actively shows that, but then it shows you how, like, once the lights are off and everybody's technically in this time period will be in bed, like, let's say 8, 9 o'clock, how the people, the men who had the opportunity and the right to pretty much do whatever they want, how they had their secret hideouts just like today, and they would go, do whatever everyone want to do, have sex with hookers, have same-sex sex, and do drugs and live a rock star type of lifestyle. It's very, they actively show you that. Like this show has so many bells and whistles that opens your minds up to what I feel like we were given as a consumers, a very narrow vision of what this time period, the Regency era in the 1800s were about. Like, I mean, watching it makes me feel so naive to think, why wouldn't I think that there were people smart enough to like sneak around and do everything that we're like scolded for doing today? Same stuff, like, with the conservative, which, conservative and classic kind of go hand in hand. So just conservative view, classic, traditional view of stuff that was still put in place back then 200 years ago. The rules are still being broken. People just weren't as forefront with it. And I find that they use that devious nature as a very good way to almost conceal what everybody kind of knows, but we're gonna pretend like we don't know because we don't know for sure. Like, you know what I'm saying? Same thing. Even when it comes to characters being devious, the way they catch, like Cressida, she cat like that one. Or that's a tough word. You know what? Since I bring up Cressida, we're gonna start I'm gonna start the character breakdown from like what I consider to be like the most relevant character to the story. So I'm gonna start off with Simon because he's like the main black lead, and yeah, so I'm going to start off with Simon. Simon is a duke. He had a horrible childhood. His mom died giving birth to him. His father was pretty much ashamed of him because he had a speaking impediment, like speaking problems. He couldn't speak. He had a stutter, a really bad stutter, and his father called him an imbecile. Long story short, I don't want to really spoil the show too much for you. Spoiler alerts. now 10 minutes in the video, I'm sorry. That very much shows how that formed him into being the man that he grew up to be, which is extremely arrogant, extremely, very particular. The bourgeois, it's really the bourgeois for me, and a very privileged young man. That's what he acts as if to be, because he was trying to live up to a standard, the typical privileged son trying to impress his privileged father, and that built him into the man that he is today. Somebody who thinks he's better than, not necessarily thinks he's better than, I feel like he actively thinks he's better than someone, but he doesn't act like that. Like, he thinks he's better than someone, but he's not gonna like show you like, yeah, I think I'm better than you. He's classy, extremely classy. Then what did I write down? Oh, well, I wrote down he's smart-mouthed and petty, which kind of goes hand in hand with being arrogant. He's very witty with the mouth. I'll give him that. He has smart comments, and he reminds me of me. He's handsome, smart mouth, and attractive. I'm sorry, I'm talking about myself. Let's get on to the next character here. The next character would be his partner, which is the Daphne. Now, let me tell you something about Daphne. Daphne and there's another character that are, just for lack of better words, they're that bitch. You know what I mean? They're that female dog. That's definitely Daphne. First off, you look at her, based off of Eurocentric standards, you look at her and she's the most beautiful out of all the. Well, I mean, the Bridgertons are described as 7 beautiful close-knit siblings, and they are fairly attractive compared to the other counterparts that in the show, but Daphne has this timeless classic beauty. Like, she's almost like a natural blonde. It's almost like a light brown brunette, but the soft features that a blonde would have stereotypically, the blue eyes, the tiny frame. She's very smart, although naive due to the time period that she's brought up in and women not being allowed to know much. She's naive, but she's very smart and just like Eloise, inquisitive, but she's definitely the picture perfect child, the one that gets everything right, because she's the first daughter being introduced to society as a debutante or whatever have you. She's definitely like, for a girl in this age, in this era, to be like her, who tells her brother, who's the man of the house now, listen, like, she tells him what she wants, what she expects, to the point where halfway through the season, the boy's telling other people, like, yeah, my sister's not gonna allow me to do that. And for those words to come out of a man's mouth in the Regency era is a lot. It means a lot, because he's basically giving a nod, like, listen, like, she does what she wants, and for a woman to be able to do what she wants in this time period and era it's revolutionary, for lack of better words. And Daphne very much encompasses that whole aesthetic. She's the it girl of the season. Every man's trying to woo her, and then she's playing it smart. Like, she's definitely like, I don't know how to explain. I'm looking for a term. Like, I want to say, like, she's like the Beyonce of the show. And that's how she's painted to be. And it's like, for lack of better words, we can see why. Next, we have Penelope. If you watch the show, you're going to see why I have Simon as number 1, then Daphne, then Penelope, because Penelope, you know what you did, Penelope. You know who you are. I'm not gonna let you guys know. Speaking of which, if you get what I'm saying, the show is narrated by Julie Andrews, classic European. Love her. She encompasses one of the show's aesthetics, which is just all over regalness. Like, she's very, her aesthetic is regal, her presence is regal, and her voice just adds that extra touch to the show. It just is like chef's kiss. It's like a nice cherry on top. But Penelope, she is someone who had a very round character. She's not, well, I can't say she's not, she's high up on the list, because she's an extremely round character. You get to see her have a nice evolution across the season. She flirts with the idea of being the young girl on the debutante market. She has some jealousy tendencies. Very, very smart. You would know why I'm saying that if you watched the show and you ended it. Not only that, she's probably, out of all the women, the most forward thinking and witty. For women in this time period who are able to make ways for themselves, nowhere near compared to a man, but for people that weren't considered ladies and weren't debutantes, you could just like the people that did the sewing and stuff like that, the opera singers in the show, women were allowed to make their own money, just not that much. Penelope, she's the smartest one, and she's the youngest. That's why I like that they picked her to be as smart and as witty as she is. I feel like she's almost dare I say, the most devious character out of them all. She gets away, that Penelope got away with so much. It blows my mind how this girl was able to get away with so much, and it's because she was able to put up a facade of one way and present one way to the world, while doing what this time period taught, like people to do is be one way in front of people in public and be one way behind closed doors. But very much how like society teaches white people, like, you know, be racist behind closed doors and be passive aggressive in person. It's like that's a theme. Like you present one thing to the world and then you go home and, you know, your true colors come out. So devious, I dare say, not like she's the most devious character out of them all. And the last thing I have on here is that she's friends with Eloise Bridgerton, the other girl that's her age, but that's not on the market yet. And she's supposed, like, she's like the ugly fat sister. She's pinned, like, first off, the Featheringtons, based off the book, were all, they were new money. They were just introduced to riches and stuff like that. So, for lack of better words, they were the ghetto people that were considered a part of high society. They were, in the books, were the ugly ones. They were all ugly. None of them were attractive. And then since they were new to money, they didn't have real class. It's one thing to be rich and it's one thing to be classy. Classy is the one, it's like when you're raised privileged versus someone like Cardi B who just ran into money. They were very much like the Cardi B. Like they didn't know what they were doing. And Penelope being one of them, she's the smartest one out of all of them, but she was definitely the ugly fat sister. Like she's the one that never got any callers. She didn't get no gentleman callers at all compared to her other sisters. And her other sister only got one, who then, well, I don't want to talk about that character yet. So next we're going to go on from Penelope to Anthony. Anthony is the eldest that we have already touched upon, the one that's taking it, the head of the house, the man of the house after the father passed away. Anthony, I have a problem with Anthony. He's symbolizes what I would say is like the stereotypical white privilege boy. Like, you know, he's almost bratty. He's always like having a tantrum and arguing with somebody in my eyes because he's being a brat. He wants it to go his way and his way only. And being the man, he has that, being a white man in society, he has that natural essence about him. Like, listen, what I say goes, and I want it this way because who's gonna tell me otherwise? I don't like that. Speaking of Anthony, I don't like the fact that I feel like this is always something, a theme I see running out through TV. Why every time do you have a black man and a white man fight, does the white man always magically win? We have Simon, I'm sorry, but we have Simon who literally boxes through the whole show. Like he boxes the most in shape out of all of them. He fights Anthony over ruining Daphne's reputation, and somehow Anthony's like anger management issues that take over his body, even though that is enough to make you kill somebody. He somehow is able to really put the works on someone who actually trains and someone who have the knowledge to stay calm and actually have precision versus letting their angers and emotions, you know, taint their actual decisions and abilities. So explain to me how Anthony was able to beat up Simon. I'll wait. Please comment down below and explain to me how logically does that make sense. You literally have him training almost every episode, but yet, nevertheless, he actually has a long list here, so I'm gonna actually read it. I said he exudes white male privilege. He's arrogant as well, just like Simon. Every man that grows up with money is arrogant because you're privileged, and I'm arrogant. I'm not rich, but I'm privileged and I'm arrogant. I can't help it. It's part of my nature. He finds it hard being the man of the house. He runs into a lot of struggles being the man of the house. I don't know. I don't remember if they preference how long ago their father passed away, but for one, he has to help with, you know, making sure he's the lead example for all his younger 6 siblings. He has to make sure all his little sisters, which I think he has Daphne, the one below Daphne, and then Daphne, the one below Daphne, Eloise, and the baby. He has 4 sisters, so he has to make sure all these people, all these women in his family get married off correctly and are introduced to society correctly and, you know, uphold the family standard. He's not taking it in so well, like, and it's mainly because his problem is like he doesn't want to do that. He feels obligated to do that because that's his family obligation, but what he really wants to do is go like run off with the hooker who's an opera singer who blows his mind every night, figuratively and literally. So that's where he has, I'm sorry, I'm parched. That's the issue that Anthony keeps running into. He doesn't want the responsibilities of being the eldest child, and yet he has that. And then, you know, they do the whole up and down roller coaster where he runs after the girl, she leaves, and of course she comes back. Enough about Anthony. The next we're gonna talk about Eloise, only because Eloise is I guess she's not high up on the list. She's 5th, but she's not one of the most round characters of the show. Guaranteed, because she's a Bridgerton, she's more round than the majority of the characters. But in retrospect to like someone like Daphne and Anthony. I don't consider Eloise that round of a character. I feel like they throw her in when she's necessary and needed. But the reason why I feel like she's an important character is because she represents almost like what I would say a Gen Z is to that time period. She's very revolutionary, forward-thinking, inquisitive. She's always trying to find out, like, you know, how babies are made and why do I have to work as a woman. I don't want to just be trained like Daphne just to make my whole life about this one moment, which is getting married. And then dare I say there's something a little masculine about Eloise as well that kind of draws me into her character. She's very captivating altogether. It's funny because the way they form her character, it's almost as if she's the perfect candidate to be Lady Featherington, which is the narrator, which is the person like, you know, Gossip Girl, who Kristen Bell would be to Julie Andrews, the narrator. This show is actually very similarly, actually, like, I can't lie, the aesthetic is very similar to that of Gossip Girl, where you have someone narrating the lives of high society and the scandal, the lies, the drama of it all. It's very reminiscent of Gossip Girl, but just a timepiece, which is it's genius. Like, I feel like why hasn't something like this come? Like, why has someone just thought, okay, let's go back in time, instead of making all colored people slaves, let's make them actually a part of society? Wow, whoa, super revolutionary. That's so hard to think of, even though we've been asking for it for years. Let's get off of Eloise. We're gonna go to Colin. Colin is the third oldest brother. He is, I bring him up because, once again, he's similar to Eloise, but I don't consider him that round. Well, he's rounder than Eloise, but are you gonna cut off? Please don't cut off. All right, so we were talking about Colin. So back to Colin. Colin is the third oldest. Bridgerton, he's not as round as a character as I would like him to be as the other ones, but he is, for lack of better words, in comparison to the other characters in the show, like Lady Danbury, he's a pretty round character, only because of the next one I'm going to be talking about, and you know who that is. It's Marina. But nevertheless, Colin, I guess he's like the sweetheart. Honestly, out of all the brothers, I feel like he's the most representable of what any guy should aspire to be at this time period. He's very respectful. He treats women like women. Like, he's very extremely nice to Penelope. When Cressida, who thinks she's like the Regina George of the show, he's very, like, when she tries to embarrass him, like, he takes it into his own arms, like, you know, to show her love and show her, like, she's somebody, you know, don't let stuff like that bother you. He was willing to marry Marina in her situation. Very, like, out of all the Bridgerton males, he's the most well-rounded, although he's not a round character. And guaranteed, if they rounded his character out, he probably wouldn't come across so well-rounded as I think he is. But since he's somewhat round, somewhat flat, he's pretty standard. He checks off all the boxes in my book for a decent gentleman. So, but that's all good and well. We're talking about him because we want to talk about Marina. Now, remember what I said earlier in the video, there's two girls, Daphne. The other one definitely is Marina. Marina is that girl. You know she's that girl from when she walks up on the scene on the show. She walks up on the scene, everybody wants to know her name, everybody's in her face, everybody wants to dance. She's a nice black woman. She is light-skinned, but she's a nice black woman, and she's in the Featherington's household. So to come to the ghetto rich people's household, and then you're getting all the shine because they wanted to be bougie and try to treat you like your shit, for lack of better words, and then you walk in there with the face that she has. She walked up in there with the face that she has. I wish you guys heard my mom, like, yeah, and look at her, she's black, and because I know my mom thought she was white. And they had Penelope, the fat, ugly girl, not that she's fat and ugly, but the one that's playing that character, go, wow, she's beautiful, because she is beautiful. So they went from the Featheringtons went from having nobody come, gentlemen callers, to their house, to having Marina there, and now Marina's so hot that she's taking the shine off of the diamond of the rough of the season, which would be Daphne, who's the only one who got the blessing of the queen. This woman is poor, coming off of she's the father, the Featherington's husband's cousin, something. She's knocked up. She pulls up and bam. Let's say it's the baby that's inside her making her glow, that's attracting her. Everybody wanted her. Like everybody wanted her. Lady Whistledown was letting it be known, like, yeah, like, wow, she just got here. Daphne, you got some competition. Look at this. She got these people. They chasing after her like she's a dog in heat. Like she's that girl. She's that girl. Not only she's that girl, she's not to be played with. When she got there, initially, she let it be known to the Featherington, like, listen, she got crazy. Like, she got crazy and got buck. I'm not gonna lie. And Lady Featherington smacked her. Now, if they really wanted to make it spicy, they should have had to put the works on her. But, you know, they didn't want to do that. It's like, you know, they want to stay true to the time period. And I guess it's a respect thing. But Lady Featherington smacked her for her being honest and open and opening up her mouth and telling her how she truly feels, which is something kids were not allowed to do back in that day. With that being said, she's very vocal. She's another Daphne and another Eloise in the sense of, well, she knows what she wants. She's more so like Daphne, where she's not afraid to vocalize it. And she's gonna let it be known, like, no, I don't care if I can have a good life by marrying the guy I love's brother because he's died and I'm pregnant with his baby. I don't care about that. I'm not going to marry you because I don't want to do that. It's not going to make me happy. I don't see how my mental health is going to be sustained from me marrying you. So guess what? I'd rather go through this road of shame and guilt than marry you and have a good life because I feel like it. Yeah, I know. I'm a lady in this time period. I'm not in my right mind, but I feel like doing that, so that's exactly what I'm gonna do. We love to see it. We love to see it. So, Marina, I'll be stuck on her all day. So now something I want to touch on in this show that really caught my eye, that made it so modern compared to other counterparts, is the music. I love how they took classic and modern and just made it mesh. They took like violins, strings, and orchestras and played music like Thank You Next. I love the fact that they were able to take top 40 and then make it Regency. Like they top 40 and they made it Regency. Like they played songs like Thank You Next and Girls Like You by Maroon 5. Like, and it's like, if you weren't a music head like me, you would just run over it as if, oh yeah, like wow, like that's a nice beat. But as you listen to it, you'll be sitting there like, wow. I was sitting there like literally watching the show like, yo, I know this. Like I don't know why I know this song, but I know it. And then you hear the melody and next thing when the chorus comes, thank you. And then like, oh shit. Thank You Next by Ariana Grande, and then the that whole thing, I love it. The aesthetic. Can we talk about the clothes real quick? The show's designer, I forgot who she is. She definitely said that she wanted to basically, she didn't want to derive all the fashion from that time period. She basically took inspiration from that time period and modern inspiration to make what we see, which is a more bedazzled version of what the Regency era clothing fashion style was actually like. They actually wore more so like hoop circle dresses, but we're trying to be modern, and the modern style they have in there is very reminiscent of what Chanel and Dior were putting out around the 1800s and the 1900s. So it's like I get where they were going. I love the decor. As you guys know, I'm a fashion person myself, so that was very pleasant. Like I love how like little things you notice how like the Bridgertons wear blue throughout the whole show, or different, like it's like a more monochromatic blue of their family. Like it's like almost as if that's like I guess that's a thing, a family color, and they all have, it's like if you put them in a family portrait, it's a monochromatic. The light blue, the very pastel-y blues, baby blues, and the whole family wore it. The boys wore more royal blues and darker navy blues, and I love it. Even it's very reminiscent of Cinderella. Like when Daphne and Simon had their ball, I just saw a bunch of Cinderellas in my eyes, because it's like they were all wearing that same blue color, that Cinderella, I want to call it like a blush blue. It's like a powdery blue, a very soft, light pastel-y blue, and it's like that's the color, dress color that Cinderella wore. But everybody came there dressed in that color, which just showed you the elevation of the poshness, like the aesthetic. Besides, well, everybody except for the ghetto Featheringtons wore in some big old bold print. Which their clothing wasn't necessarily bad. It was cheap, as they alluded to during the show, but it wasn't necessarily bad. I can't complain. But they did best with what they have, and I mean they did wind up poor, even though technically somebody in there is not poor. But nevertheless, you get the point. That show, honestly, great look. You guys need to take your time out and watch it. I highly, highly, highly recommend. Leave any comments down below in my comment section about your thoughts on it. If you like the fashion, if you like the music, if you like the diversity, if you felt like Hollywood should stick to the true nature of that time period, any improvements the show could use, any things you disapproved of, anything that you agreed with me on, anything you disagreed with me on, I would really love to have a conversation about this show. I really enjoyed watching it thoroughly. Actually, this is actually one of the first first Netflix shows that I was watching where I actually started rewatching it like within less than a week. Like I was in, what I do is I'll watch a show, I'll recommend it, like you should watch it. I'll recommend it to my mom, and she should watch it on her own time. The show was so good while I was getting my hair done by my sister. I had to put it on while I was getting my hair done. It just it inspired me and pushed me even further to want to watch this show. Like now, guaranteed, once again, I'm not by any means like, I watch film from an artist standpoint because I want to be an actor. So I watch people to see how well they make me feel things and how well they act and how believable they are. I don't really watch things from like a producer standpoint. I do like cinematography. I'm a little bit into that. Like you see, I like to record and stuff like that. But for the people that like take stuff like this extremely, extremely, extremely serious, I don't know what their views on it are like, if they feel it's an actual good video, if they feel like they did the storylines justice, they did the books justice, if they were accurate, if they were inaccurate, if they could have changed some things, if they changed some characters drastically. I have no idea about any of that type of stuff. All I know is, I know when I see a show that I like, without having any prior knowledge, and I know if it makes me feel things. I know if it's good to watch visually. I know if aesthetically it's pleasing, and it just makes me want to sit there. Like, I can literally watch Bridgerton on mute, and I feel like I'm walking through like a time capsule of the Regency era, a modern Regency era, because that's not very. I can't lie, it's not authentic Regency era, but it's very. You can see the inspirations. Then last but not least, back to that whole feminine thing I was telling you about as a theme. It trickles down to almost every female character in this. Like, even like Lady Danbury and Lady Bridgerton, all of them, they give off this very boss like vibes. Like, they're almost like as if like, well, ironically, like, Lady Bridgerton doesn't have a husband. He passed away, and Lady Danbury isn't married. So it's like they're almost like single women living in this Regency era with families, one being a duke and one being the Bridgertons. So with that being said, like, they give off this very like boss bitch vibe, like head of the household vibe. That's what they give off. The way they speak to their kids and belittle them in a chastising way. Like, listen, let me say something to you. I know you think you got it together. You don't. You don't got it together. Let me show you and tell you why you don't got it together. I love that. I love the energy that they exude, especially Lady Danbury. She gives me this like almost Lady Danbury. I mean, I don't have her down as a main character, even though she as a key character. She's a main character in the show. She has lines, but she's not a key character in my book. But she is almost the most classy, posh, wealthy acting, royal, regal character in this show, like almost even more so than the queen. The queen gives off very arrogant stubbiness, versus Lady Danbury gives off a poshness, like a very classy vibe, like very like I don't gotta disrespect you, like I'm gonna turn the other cheek because I'm that type of classy, but don't fuck with me too much. But like, she gives off that whole type of vibe, and I they did their thing. That's all I can really say. They did their thing. Like, if you think I recommend 10 out of 10, I would recommend definitely go check this show out. It's worth the look. It's worth the watch. Watch it with some popcorn. Watch it while you do some recreational activities. Watch it while you're sipping some wine. Watch it with your family, friends. I don't care. Just give it a watch. It's definitely worth it. Let me know if you guys like this video, if you vibe with it any way, form, or fashion. I really want to like some feedback. All welcome here. If you vibe to like anything I said during this video with me, like, comment, and subscribe. It really will help me a lot. My birthday is July 3rd, so I really would like 5,000 subscribers by then. It would really be amazing and mean a lot to me. So if you guys could like help me out with that goal, I would really appreciate that. With that being said, your local New York City Cowboy is gonna catch you on the flip side, and I'm gonna see you. I'm out.